How I define storytelling, well, I think for me, it's creating and sharing a narrative, but it doesn't have to be just through words. For me, storytelling can be any form, such as visual art, dance, music. But again, for me, storytelling, it has to get me moved. It has to be impactful. It has to make me imagine. It has to make me wonder. It has to make me ponder. And really, sometimes really good storytelling makes me take action. So, storytelling to me is something that is moving and causes action and is impactful and gets me thinking and gets my imagination going.
Hi, how are y'all?
Pretty good in yourself.
Very good. How are
I'm
you?
good. I'm good. So, what we wanted to do is we wanted to get a few people together so we can talk about specifically storytelling and politics. But I think storytelling is vague. So, I think we can start by like talking about like what exactly it means to be a storyteller and what is storytelling.
So, what I think a storyteller is someone who explains a situation that's happened or is going to happen, or something that has some people, not necessarily people, but plot, action, things that's going to happen. Basically, what do you think?
I think storytelling is the one thing that can be displayed through everything.
Okay.
I think storytelling comes through action, through words, through displays, through clothing, through
Mhm.
tattoos, through how you live. I just think storytelling is a little bit of everything.
I think it's very
So, like, how
universal.
does it show up? How does it show up in our lives? Like, what is that? I mean, you kind of just said it, like tattoos, the clothes that we wear, the art that we do, and stuff like that. But like, I think when we talk about politics and storytelling, sometimes for some people it can be really confusing because, like, how does politics have to do with storytelling? You know, specifically, and even like artists and stuff like that. Like, what do artists and politics have to do in common?
Go ahead.
Okay, I think it could be very literal, like it could be telling a literal story with words and like I am right now, or it could be like an artist, like I'm an artist through your painting. You could be telling us what's going on in the world through a painting, and it could be abstract, it could be very not abstract, which is what um whatever that word
Subject,
is. So
subject. I think.
yeah, it could be any type of work, but you're telling a story through it. It can reach like you don't have to speak the same language, but it's communicating something. So I feel like that's storytelling, and in the sense of artistry, that's storytelling.
And the hero is George W. Bush. That's what our campaigns are all about. They're about one or two things: fear or hope.
You came here because you believe in what this country can be. You believe that we can be one people, reaching out for what's possible.
I had great admiration for all that John McCain had done and sacrificed for the country. And so when he asked me to help him in 2008, I agreed that I would. But I said, I have a big caveat. And he said, what is it? And I said, well, there's this guy, Barack Obama, who's running in the Democratic primary, and nobody thinks he's going to win. But if he does win the nomination and you win the nomination, I would be uncomfortable staying around for the general election because I think his candidacy is good for the country. I disagree with his politics, but I think he's a good man. And I don't want to be the person leading the attack against him. I actually think a lot about regret. And, that's a situation where I thought about it. I said, if I work for John McCain and Barack Obama's elected and I work against this guy and have to say things that I'm not comfortable saying, I'm going to regret it. So I stepped out of the general election, and I'm glad that I did ultimately. Because that narrative that anything's possible in this country, that you can come from any background and be elected president, I thought that was a great story.
What would you say a moment that you were proud of storytellers? Like when it comes to politics, where was a moment where you looked at a political change and was like, yes, that's because of artistry, if you can?
I noticed the change when Barack Obama became a candidate because I had never seen, at least in my lifetime, at that time I was young. So in my lifetime, I had never seen my favorite singers, my favorite rappers, my favorite models and athletes support a politician the way I saw them support him. And that was my first time of seeing how the narrative being painted can move someone in a different direction. That was my first time seeing it.
For me, I would say particularly was the George Floyd case when everyone come together and we stood together on one particular what's the word I'm looking for? We stood together on one particular
Accord.
Thank you. I'm bad at words.
I got you, sis.
So came together saying the same thing. We want justice. That was I was proud of. It was powerful. He turned the ruling was he was guilty. He was ruled guilty or whatever. That was a moment I was genuinely proud of. I think, that was that.
I think for me, the moment that I was proud of like artists and storytellers is like you said, like it is especially happened after the George Floyd video went viral, was that like so many like rappers and singers and actors and stuff like were in the streets, were protesters, were like just doing things for the community. I think I saw a video of, or a picture of like Kodak Black, like say what you want about Kodak Black, I'm definitely that Kodak Black fan, but he like bought AC units for like everybody in the apartment complex, which is a big deal, especially if you're like paying rent and you don't have one, like, and your landlord is not providing you one. That's a huge deal. So I started seeing stuff like that and I was like, that's positive, that's it, that's the future, that's what the future is gonna look like. It's like people, it may not be one person, one Kodak Black, it may be 10, 15, 20, 20.
Terrifying. I know I'm on stage and I have my heels and I look all glam, but I'm horrified. And the way in which I kind of strengthen myself is by having this mantra. Most of my life, I was particularly terrified of speaking up because I had a speech impediment, which made it difficult to pronounce certain letters, sounds, and I felt like I was fine writing on the page, but once I got on stage, I was worried my words might jumble and stumble. What was the point in trying not to mumble these thoughts in my head if everything's already been said before? But finally, I had a moment of realization where I thought, if I choose not to speak out of fear, then there's no one that my silence is standing for. And so I came to realize that I cannot stand standing to the side, standing silent. I must find the strength to speak up. And one of the ways I do that is through this mantra where I call back to what I call honorary ancestors. These are people who might not be related to you by blood or by birth, but who are more than worth saying their names because you stand on their shoulders all the same. And it's only from the height of these shoulders that we might have the sight to see the mighty power of poetry, the power of language made accessible, expressible. Poetry is interesting because not everyone is going to become a great poet, but anyone can be and anyone can enjoy poetry. And it's this openness, this accessibility of poetry that makes it the language of people. Poetry has never been the language of barriers. It's always been the language of bridges. And it's this connection making that makes poetry, yes, powerful, but it also makes it political. One of the things that irritates me to no end is when I get that phone call, and it's usually from a white man, and he's like, man, Amanda, we love your poetry. We'd love to get you to write a poem about this subject, but don't make it political. Which to me sounds like I have to draw a square but not make it a rectangle, or like build a car and not make it a vehicle. It doesn't make much sense because all art is political. The decision to create, the artistic choice to have a voice, the choice to be heard is the most political act of all.